Hey there, I'm Alan Matthews from Classical Guitar Shed, and in this video we're going to be talking about shaky hands. When it comes on guitar, as if guitar isn't hard enough to play already without shaking all over the thing. So we'll talk about sudden onset shaky hands, chronic shaky hands, and what you can do about both right after this. All right, so what happens when we get shaky hands? Well, on the sudden onset shaky hands, this is when we're not normally shaky, but all of a sudden we're in a situation and we're shaky. What happens is that we perceive some sort of threat to ourselves, to our bodies, and our reptile brain just turns on, gives us a big spike of adrenaline, and we tense up. Yes, and when we tense up, we start to constrict our chest, we breathe more shallowly, and this means that we get less oxygen into our muscles. And when that happens, our capillaries shrink, our muscles tense up, and they start to shake. Now, once that starts to happen, we perceive that as a threat, we freak out about it, and then the whole cycle just spins out of control, and pretty soon we're just a mess. So this is the cycle of tension. So there are a few things that you can do about this. So first off is, when you start to do this, breathe. Because at least that will do something. Also, just notice your shoulder tension, and if you're up like this, then release them. So these are some of the things that you can just do in the immediate, is just remember to breathe. Don't hyperventilate, but remember to breathe and do that. Another thing is that you can stay hydrated, because that will help with your capillaries in your fingers staying open. And so then that will just help. A lot of people are dehydrated and don't realize it. So one of the things, if you know that you're going to be playing for people, make sure that you're well hydrated beforehand. It's an easy win. Another thing you can do for this is beta blockers. And there are two types of beta blockers. There are natural beta blockers that you can find in, say, bananas. In music schools, bananas are like a food group unto themselves, because people eating them before performances so that they can settle things down. They just slow your heart rate. They keep you from spiking so hard. And then the other thing is actual drugs, beta blockers. And I actually played a concert on them once, and it was not good. So I didn't enjoy them. I found myself somewhat disassociated and found myself unable to care about anything I was doing. It was like I was just floating in the rafters and watching myself and could not get engaged. So some people swear by them, but I didn't think that they contributed to my musical offering at all. But I wasn't nervous. So there you have it. Another thing you can do for the sudden ones is avoid caffeine and sugar before you play. And so if you're a regular habitual caffeine person, like I am, then this can be difficult. But ideally, keep the caffeine and sugar to a minimum. Other things you can do: put your hands in hot water before you play. This will just loosen them up a little bit and help you to feel warm. The other thing is make sure that your whole body is warm. And so if you're really cold, then you're going to constrict, and then that's going to contribute to the shaking as well. Just lower your threshold to the shakes. So make sure you're warm. Even put your hands into warm water. You can also do tapping, also called EFT. And you can just Google this. It seems a little bit new agey, but it works. You can also just avoid anxious people. If you see someone freaking out, stay away from them. Instead, just play your own game. Keep away from anxious people. And another one you can do is to take a minute and close your eyes and breathe and just relax and tell yourself nice things. This is going to be great. I'm going to do just fine. I'm excited. I'm framing this as excitement instead of nervousness. And everything's going to be fine. And so just tell yourself that, sit with your eyes closed and breathe, and that could help as well. With chronic shaking, things are different because you're always shaking. And so it's just something you can minimize, but there might be some sort of medical issue at hand, like Parkinson's or tremors or something like this. And that's beyond the scope of this video. But what you can do these things that we're talking about to reduce them. And so that it is only that condition that's shaking you and not all these other things as well. So stay hydrated, stay warm, avoid caffeine, all the same things. So let's talk some long-term fixes for shaky hands. For shaky hands, one of the best things that you can do is to stay focused in your practice. Whenever you're practicing the guitar, whenever you pick up the guitar and you sit down in your practice, be absolutely laser focused. always be paying attention to something, some little thing, be it anything, hand positions, movements, listening, the music, something in the music like a swell or a fade. Always have something that you're paying close attention to. And what's going to happen then is whenever you get in front of people and you start playing, then you'll go on to your autopilot, which will then be, it'll be whatever you've been doing the most in practice, and that will be focus. So even if you're shaking, you can still play really well. And even though your fingers are just all over the place, you still have, you know exactly what to do and you won't crumble to pieces. So that's the number one thing you can do, is focus like crazy in each and every practice. The other thing is that you can create a relaxation anchor for your guitar, which means that every time you pick up your guitar, you're in a particular state. And that way, when you're in a situation, you pick up your guitar, you'll re-enter that state. So what does this actually mean? I've written about this elsewhere, but it means that before you pick up your guitar for your daily practice, take a deep breath, sit for a second, close your eyes, tell yourself nice things, and be in a really relaxed, positive state. Focused, aware, relaxed awareness is another way to put it. And then pick up your guitar from that place. And if you do that every single day, over time, that guitar will be synonymous with that state. And so whenever you go to a nervous situation, you've got that on your side. The other thing is to create a warm-up ritual, something that you do every single time you pick up the guitar. Then I just play this scale really slowly, or I do some slurs, or I do some raschiatos, whatever it happens to be, so that you have a ritual. That way, whenever you go to a performance or something, you can do that, or a lesson, then you can do that ritual, and it's just a little way of saying, this is normal. It just brings normality to it. Also, for performance anxiety and shakes there, then another thing that you can do is make sure that you have your music super well learned. So just over-prepare. Use visualization, be able to visualize your pieces, playing them, be able to play your pieces slowly from memory, ideally under tempo, so that you're not relying on your muscle memory, which is then going to mess up because you're shaking. So make sure that you just know your pieces outside of muscle memory, which means you can play them very slowly in practice from memory, ideally, or even with the music, but just be able to play them slowly. So these have been some ways that you can play with shaky hands or reduce your shaky hands. Also, it's okay if your hands shake. It's just okay. So if your hands are shaking, so be it. Just play with shaky hands. And there it is. So allowing yourself to have shaky hands will actually reduce your anxiety as well, because oftentimes we think that they're a problem, which makes us freak out and shake even more. So just let yourself have shaky hands. Prepare for them, stay hydrated, practice well, know your music, and they'll be less of a deal than they were before. All right, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Read the full article at the link below, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.